want to say something to you. Later in the show, we're going to talk about FIFA. That should have been at the top of the show. And I don't want to be a Monday morning quarterback, but that is, let me tell you why. There are a number of major corporations in this country, and I won't mention their names specifically, there's no reason to drag them into this, that are involved with FIFA. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
Major corporations that everybody uses every day. So let me just make a couple other points here about FIFA. The United States should have gotten the World Cup instead of Russia. It was the United States' turn. We did a great job of hosting it the last time I was here. So as a result of FIFA and bribery and corruption and kickbacks, we don't get the World Cup because we weren't participating in all that. Now, be careful when you throw the first stone because we know what happened in Salt Lake City with the Olympics. But I'm just saying that had an effect on millions of people who wanted to go to the games or would have worked at the games or been involved in the games in some capacity, either directly or in an ancillary basis.
Well, Sports Authority Field here in Denver was built in part with the World Cup in mind.
Yeah. And so as a result of the corruption that's in FIFA, the United States doesn't get a World Cup again, but places where they can't even hold it in the summertime because of corruption did get it.
You know what's crazy? When you first heard that Qatar had won the bid for 2022, what's the first thing that went through your mind? They lined the pockets of FIFA officials with oil money. I mean, Woody, you and I have covered sports for a combined 75, 80 years, all right? Have we not known from the very beginning when we entered this profession that FIFA was corrupt? Has it not been talked about forever? Why has it been allowed to go on like this? Because there hasn't been evidence?
Who stops it? I mentioned Piers Morgan, and I'm sure people watching the show
I don't know.
are
Who oversees it? If the people at the top of FIFA are corrupt, and we certainly believe they are and always have been, who watches over FIFA?
That's the point I'm making. Piers Morgan, in addition to, if people have seen him as a talk show host, he is a major columnist in Great Britain.
Yes.
And he wrote, in addition to bladder being a poisonous toad, he wrote the column saying, "Thank you, United States. You've come and bailed us out again." That nobody was watching over it. Blatter is the Roger, if you want to make this comparison, he's the Roger Goodell of FIFA.
But Roger Goodell feels pressures that Blatter doesn't.
Well, because the difference is Roger Goodell is not paying bribes to the owners because he can't pay them enough. They're paying his salary.
They're already making plenty of money anyway.
The people with Blatter
because of him.
So there's a guy, and I'm forgetting his name. It'll come to me in a moment. I thought he was an American who was arrested. He owns a team in Costa Rica. So it was his team that played against the United States in that snow game that was here. He was a vice chairman or vice president of FIFA. He resigned under pressure when he started getting, and he put out a speech today that was a statement that was just incredible. All I want to do is help my own people. I want to see them have lives that are better. After he's lined his pocket with hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars, that's more likely, tens of $1 million. Well, why don't you give that money to everybody in Costa Rica?
Doesn't this smack of the same thing we went through with the Olympics?
That's what I'm saying.
Year after year after
and
year.
here, Salt Lake City.
And boxing, year after year after year. I mean, when these are the world governing organizations and they are corrupt, other than public pressure or pressure from fans, how are we to oversee them?
You can't. I mean, do you put the United Nations in charge of it? The United Nations can't even take care of what it's doing.
Yeah.
They don't do anything.
Got their own problems.
Yeah, saying.
Let them deal with war. This isn't war.
You've heard the arguments over the years that boxing should be overseen by the government or some world organization. Well, what they did as a result of that was they created more. You know, there's not only the WBA and the WBC. There's now one called the WBO, which is the World Boxing, which is nothing. It's a guy that's in another country who is lining his pockets and saying, "Oh, we're going to have a heavyweight championship fight because he can do it."
At $5 billion, they say, through the years. Could this be the largest, the biggest scandal in the history of sports?
That's what I said. I mean, really, that's what I said. I think it's bigger than but people in the United States won't consider it.
Nah.
They think Deflategate is bigger than this.
Because it's soccer.
Guess what? 90% of the world is affected by this. And with soccer growing in this country, soccer is definitely the number 5. Wouldn't you agree? 5 or 6? Maybe
Yeah,
5. If
5
you count
probably.
NASCAR, it's number 6.
And growing some.
Sure, it's growing.
Not as exponentially as a lot of people think, but it's growing some.
So anyway, it is a very big deal, and the Rapids are involved with
CONCACAF?
CONCACAF Co. or whatever that. It's got a long name, but they're going to host a game here.
The
and
All-Star
stuff.
game.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not talking about that. But they're not involved in all this, but it affects them because they're part of the organization.
Yeah, it affects the whole soccer world.